Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of my 2020 garden. So I hope you all are doing well and staying safe. I am now working from home because here in Wisconsin we are under stay-at-home orders, and I was able to figure out how to do my job from home. So I probably have most of the company upstairs in my office. When I was driving home after filling up my truck with files and assorted things, my boss is like, just don't stop anywhere and have them break into your car. So life is different. It's really, really different. And one of the ways I see that difference is I have a lot more time in my day because I'm not commuting for an hour and a half every day. And also I get to find little 10 and 15 minute snippets of time where I can just run outside and do whatever I need to do and then run back inside again. And that's so different for me because I have been working since I was 16 years old, and it's just really different for me, and pretty isolated here, not really seeing many people. So yeah. So if you're not watching this in real time, this is Palm Sunday 2020, so it's April 5th, 2020, and we are in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis. So I thought what I would do is do a little tour of all my seedlings and kind of talk about hardening things off. This year, different than any other year, I can harden things off the way you're actually supposed to do them. So let me show you what I'm doing this year. So for those of you who don't know, hardening off seedlings is really important, because if you start your seedlings inside, they have to get used to the sun. You can't just take them from growing inside under lights to growing outside in the sun, because they will get sunburnt. Sunburn is bad for your plants. Well, most plants can recover from that. It's important to do it very slowly so they can get accustomed to being outside. Not only do they have to get accustomed to the sun, but they have to get accustomed to the wind as well. Otherwise, they can get windburnt as well. So as you can see here in this tray, right here, I'm trying to stay out of your sun, I have marigolds and calendula here. And you can see I got some pretty good germination rates on those flowers. In here I have cilantro, getting used to the sun. And then these are my tomato transplants that you saw in the last episode. Now for the first day I will give them a half an hour of sun. The second day I will give them 45 minutes of sun. The next day I will give them an hour of sun, and so on and so on. And by doing that, they get used to the sun very slowly, the strong sun, very slowly. I can also give them an extra hour or so in the greenhouse, because I found that in my greenhouse, things don't get sunburnt. And so I'll give them, today I'll give these guys 45 minutes out here, and then I'll put them in the greenhouse for an hour or two in the sun, and then maybe move them to a shady part of the greenhouse, because the greenhouse is really nice and warm right now. And that way they get used to the warmth, they get that wonderful warmth, and they get the sunshine, the bright light. Even in the shade in the greenhouse, it's better than under a fluorescent light downstairs. Over here on this tray, I have my hyssop, my flat leaf parsley, and summer savory. And they are staying in the greenhouse all the time at this point. We are still getting nights in the low 30s. Over here I have sage. Here I have some curly leaf parsley. and a couple peppers. More parsley in here. More peppers. And these are ground cherries here. Over here I have chicory root. This, I can't believe how much this has grown since I put it in these pots. And then in here, I made the mistake yesterday of leaving these flats on the ground when I went to the dog park, and the squirrels got in them. Can you see that? This is kale. This is lettuce. Here you can see the squirrels got in there. Pak choy and radishes. Here in the greenhouse, this is dill. These are the dill that were really, really leggy, and I just potted them in deep. These are those 6-inch pots that I have. I potted them in really deep, figured I had nothing to lose, and they're doing really well. The rest of the transplanted tomatoes, there's a couple here I need to find a spot for. I also have some potatoes in here that I want to get these in the ground. These are my leftover potatoes from last year. You can see I've got some blue ones in here. The rest of these I believe are Kennebec whites, and they had turned green, so I'm just going to put them back in the ground and they should be fine. They're not soft, so this one might be a blue potato. So anyway, I'll pot those up soon. Over here I've got some thyme here. This is the celery that didn't grow. I got to replant that. Oregano did not germinate. Just gonna leave that alone. I've got a couple other peppers that weren't quite ready to be transplanted, so I just left them in there. Here I've got more flat leaf parsley, and I've got more oreganos. This oregano germinated, this oregano did not. My guess is they were from 2 different packs. So this will be more than enough. And then in some of these little rose pots here, got some thyme here and some sage. And back here is some chamomile. Down here, I've got beans and peas. And again, I had these outside yesterday, and the squirrels got in them. So, I still have way more than I'm ever gonna need. So I'm just leaving them sit here until they germinate. And then up here, these are replanted tomatoes. The Plum Regal and the Country Taste tomatoes. This one wasn't big enough to transplant, so I left it there. Planted another seed here, and then I planted 2 seeds here. More thyme in the back. More sage up here. I absolutely love sage. Dill. This is supposed to be rosemary. That does not look like rosemary to me. That looks like Swiss chard. So I don't know where that came from. More thyme here. I think I'm going to have enough thyme. And these in the back here are the sun golds. These in the back here are sun golds that I transplanted yesterday. Here is my rhubarb. You can see it's really getting big. It is pushing up. What is it growing under there? There we go. I gotta make that hole bigger. Pretty soon we'll have yummy, yummy rhubarb. So here's my winter sowing stuff. This is one thing you do not have to harden off. It's chamomile. Smoothly spinach. Cabbages. So for this winter sowing stuff, once you open up the tops of these jugs, things can get sunburnt, but the chances of them getting sunburnt are very slim. I've had more problem with it being cold and have to protect them from the cold than I have from protecting them from the sun. So, you know, they're used to the cold nights. They're used to being warm during the day. They also have the warmth of the raised bed beneath them, and that radiates up a little bit. So yeah, they do pretty well. You can usually take them right out of these containers and plant them in the ground without hardening them up. What's really weird is I noticed that my chives have started to come up. Not my chives, my shallots and onions have started to come up. But my chives haven't come up. I don't see anything in there. That's kind of weird, because they're both in the same family. So that pretty much does it for hardening things off. A couple of things you have to remember. I usually set a timer for how long these plants have been outside, because what you think is a half an hour when you're busy turns into like 45 minutes or an hour. And the second thing is watch how dry they get, because when it's sunny like this and windy, they can dry out really fast. And some of these plants don't have all that much soil in them, and so they'll suck all the moisture out of the soil and then they'll dry out really fast, and all of a sudden you go outside and all your plants are falling over limp because they didn't have any water. So kind of watch the water on them. And that's pretty much it. If you do it really slowly, you won't have to worry about any of them getting sunburned. If you see a few sunburned spots on their leaves, don't worry about it. They'll grow new leaves. They'll recover from it, just so long as you don't like completely fry them and leave them outside all day, because it will kill them, especially the young seedlings, because they don't have a really good root structure. And a lot of plants can even survive a frost if they have a really good root structure, but these young seedlings can't do that. Now I have all my cold weather plants, so your brassicas, your kale, kohlrabi, cabbage, the herbs, all of those can stay in my greenhouse overnight. Even if we get below zero, it's warmer in the greenhouse than it is in the outside air temperature. But the warm weather vegetables, the tomatoes, the peppers, I don't have any basil planted yet, but if I did, the basil, those type of plants should go in the house, or at least in your garage every day, because it's still too cold at night, at least in my area, for them to go outside. Once the nighttime temperatures stay above 50 degrees, then you can keep your warm weather vegetables outside, or at least 50 degrees for me in the greenhouse, because that's really as cold as they can. They're not going to grow if it gets colder than 50 degrees at night. So those are the tips I've learned over the years. I always say there are as many ways to garden as there are gardeners. If you have any other tips, put them down in the comments section below and let me know how your seed starts are going. I'm really interested to know how everybody is doing. Or if you're new to gardening this year because of what's going on in the world, let us know if you need any help. And we'll be more than, this gardening community is fantastic. That's one thing I've always found out, is the gardening community is really good, and we're always here to help someone who's starting out new. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you all are safe and well, and until next time, happy gardening everybody. Bye-bye.